Well, all I hear all day long at the LGS is how great Ira is, or Ira is so wonderful at that. It's always Ira, Ira, Ira. Outcast Haven podcast starts now. So my voice got a little hoarse there. I was cheering very loudly as my son's lacrosse team won section finals, going to state, top 8 teams in state. That's where we're starting. Second thing we're starting with is a promise I made from Tuesday. And that is this bad boy that showed up.
How is that not in a frame?
I just got it, so I haven't framed it yet.
Oh, okay.
So there's a signature on the very bottom. The video probably does zero justice for how awesome it looks. It's a very cool canvasy style paper.
Mhm.
Very happy I bought it. Can't wait to go get it framed. I will probably frame that the next week here and get
For
it
those
on the wall.
For those curious, how'd you go about ordering that?
So I stalked the guy, and I on the bottom of the card it's got their name. So then you go to Artstation, find the guy, did a little Instagram stalking, found him on Instagram, messaged him. I'm like, hey, I love your Gaze of Ages. I'd love to buy it and have you sign it. He goes, awesome. It's 2 to 3 months. Gave me the cost, paid him, it was $100. He orders it from Imprint, who prints them. He had it sent to his house in Germany, signed it, and then shipped it to me in the US. So for $100, that's pure value right there.
That's
so
awesome.
I really appreciate it. It's a great looking picture. We'll link the artist and everything, and the Artstation thing in the comments below. So remind me to do that when we're done, Dane, so I'm not a liar.
Yeah. Or I'll just when we do our title and everything afterwards, we'll take care of that. That's admin stuff. We can do that.
So my start was the one skirmish I'll probably be in because of June is just so busy. Was fun. There was 22 players. Last minute decision to go there on a Friday night. We decided to show up next Saturday morning. Just brought Kano, and I start 2 back-to-back Iras, and I'm like, where am I? I thought we had new heroes, and we'd see. I was the only Kano, and granted, I could have brought a new hero, but usually there's not many Kanos. So yeah, it was overrun by Iras and a couple Dorinthias in there, and I was so happy. Kyle, who I'd jammed a ton of games 2 weeks before, against Reinar and Kano, we were just jamming games back and forth, a blast. Both of us 3-2. He made the cut, and he just cleaned house in top 8 and won it with Reinar. So I was very happy to see Reinar go out there and just claw some Iras to death in Dorinthias. No offense to Dorinthias, but I like to see a Reinar come in there and just smash the place up. So yeah, hopefully I just want Ira to die. That's me in a nutshell. Ira needs to die.
I played a Reinar too. Axel, one of our subscribers. Actually, I've played him before. Thank God for his unique name, because I recognized that I played him and he recognized me too. But he was like, "Hey man, like we played in a skirmish," and I was like, "I know, I reckon," because his name is AXL, which I think is just like a unique way to spell it. I don't know if it is or not, but I don't see many Axels. But he was running Reinar in our Cancer Society of New Zealand charity drive event. And I've been reading a lot of places that Prism struggles into Reinar, and I've had pretty good experience into Reinar and Bravo with like my Aura build, but the Phantasms and everything, like running into Reinar and Bravo, I heard that it struggled a lot. But I made like that unique Prism deck that ran a lot more non-Phantasm attacks. So I was like, I'm gonna try this into a Reinar and see if like it performs better than like the Phantasm heavy Prism, and it didn't. I lost. It was still bad. But he was, I mean, I was like, hey man, I was testing that out. I would love to, like, if you got time, play some more games. And we just hung out and played, and super, super good dude. Let me run my ores into him. Much better experience the second game, but for me. But he took that first one off me, and I was like, all right, I need to save face somewhat, even if it's just for myself. But that event is super fun. I'm actually having a lot of fun, like, playing. I know it's weird scheduling, Jason, because you're playing it too, right? How'd you do?
So before we get to Blake's sealed, I played today because I do want to talk about Blake sealed because
Oh yeah.
he's very, very good at sealed. It turns out Blake's newsflash, he's good at sealed. So I played. I was 2-0 going in today. I did draw a very good player. Happens to be third ranked ELO in the world right now, and that is Aaron Curtis. He pulled out Dorinthia, who I have never beat with my chain build. So I'm like, even better. I get to play a top player. And he's playing my worst deck that I just haven't quite figured out yet. And yeah, I think I should have gone more aggro than this is coming from me, who all I do is go aggro. I just felt like the first turn you have to block and not take damage on the first turn. But with what my hand was, I should have actually just taken the 6 damage because I could have thrown back 9. And so I think I just have to take the damage there and throw back the 9 because I didn't have a very good turn going back. I think I netted 3 or 4. So that was a mistake, and obviously he doesn't make mistakes. And we did stream that today. So if you're watching or listening now, you can find that stream was up there. It's up there now. Very awesome. Great person. We'll probably have him on here in the future because we discussed that, and love to have him come on and get thoughts. Like I said, he's Jacob, Matt, and Aaron. There's your top 3 right now for ELO, and that's what we consider the top ranked players. So it's awesome to play top ranked player, top ranked deck, and you just lose when that happens usually. And that's what I did. So felt the 2 wasn't hurt about it by at all. I think we have 8 rounds, so just we put our final deck list in today, and I just need to crank out a 60 card deck for Dorinthia and not go as wide with 72 and just go super aggro with it. So that's my goal. We'll work as a team to help me figure that out. But enough about me. Blake, your sealed success continues.
Yeah, I played in a sealed event. I think when all was said and done, I want to say it was 12 people. Which is really cool because it was just a random Wednesday night event they threw up, and it didn't have any crazy pricing. It was just a pack per win, and I didn't really care about the pricing. I just wanted to go play some locals, got to jam some games before and after, and I actually. It was a weird sealed event because honestly, I went into it with really low expectations. I got my my second COVID shot and had like a little COVID shot hangover going that afternoon. And so I went into it assuming that my COVID shot hangover would take a beating on me and might not be my best friend. And then I opened probably the worst sealed pool I have ever opened in terms of just value cards. I opened 0 Majestics in my 6 packs. And I opened 2 block armor, and they were the same. They were both chest pieces. So I got into that weird spot where I was like, I don't have great block. I don't have a great deck. And I was basically just like defeating myself before the whole thing. I was just like, okay, I got to prepare myself for the worst. I decided to play chain because I had 13 chain cards, like, or 13 blood deck cards. So I figured I could, I was like, I can value it out. And then if there's anything I've learned from playing chain, it's that if you get really impactful chain cards, like a ton of seeds, you can maybe thin your deck down a little bit because you get a lot of free damage from the arcane in most cases. If you don't get a lot of seeds, which, spoiler alert, I got 1 blue seeds and I still play chain, which might be the dumbest part of why I like choosing chain when you have 1 seeds and it's blue is probably the dumbest thing that I've ever done, because that's like kind of your get out of jail free card is playing your seeds. I just didn't have any other good pools, so I committed to chain and just went big on the deck and kind of played Runeblade pile. And I just was like, I'm just going to slowly try and bleed my opponents out. And I did that in 1 game. I played another chain player, and on his 3 shackle turn and 4 shackle turn, he banished 7 cards not a single blood debt. And at that point, I just quit making shackles and I blocked him out because I was at 12 health. And I figured I could just bleed him out because there was no way he wins that game. So, yeah, I went 4-0. So that felt pretty good. And my sealed success continues. This game has been good to me in sealed. So,
So I have a question on that. So
Yeah.
when you played chain, did you, on average, were you shackling every turn from the start, every other turn? How did you run your shackles? Because that's hard in sealed, where your
Mhm.
blood debt, you only have 13, and you ran what, close to a 40 card pool, I'm guessing.
I ran 42 cards.
Right. So you
Yeah.
ran. So you're not running for the blood debt. So how did you do
Nope.
your shackle? How did you manage that?
Yeah, I think the trick with chain is it's pretty opponent dependent. Like if you're playing a Bolton, you have to kind of assume that they're going to be able to be more aggressive than you. So you have to kind of depend on hoping that your soul shackles hit. But honestly, one of the things that I've learned slowly with chain and sealed is trying to actually do the numbers along the way, knowing that I have 13 cards in the deck, so a third of my deck is blood debt. But knowing exactly how many you have before the game determines a lot. I had one hand where I had 3 early on in one game, and I just realized, okay, that's 3 of 13. There's only 10 left in the deck. And then the next hand I drew was 4 blood debt, and I just quit shackling because I knew mathematically I had really low odds of hitting my soul of my blood debt cards early. So I basically waited 2 more turns of cycling through before I even started making soul shackles, because mathematically there were 7 cards that were blood debt that were, and I just pitched all of them. I literally didn't play a single blood debt card and pitched them all and just kind of poked with my sword, blocked with what I could, arsenaled one, and just tried to outvalue my opponents. And then, like I said, in the one game, the soul shackles kind of decision was determined for me when he missed. I was at like 2 and he missed 2 turns in a row. And at that point I was just like, I think I win here because he's going to deck himself and I can just block out. So a lot of it depends on the opponents. I think with like Prism, you have to be a little more aggressive more often than not because their phantasm attacks are so good. And as chain, the only 6 attack cards you have are Soul Reaping, which you don't want to block with, and any generic 6s that you drew. And I, spoiler alert again, I drew, other than Soul Reaping, I had 1 6 attack in my deck. So
You got
I
a
was
soul reaping though.
I got a Soul Reaping, yep, and I didn't get to play it. I didn't get to play it once. I milled it every time. I banished it every game.
Damn soul reaping. It reaped your soul by being banned.
Dude, broke my heart.
Awesome. So I mean, tournaments obviously, like we've said in the past, we're really picking up on our local scene. Another shop just went from webcam to in person, so it's picking up. And there's another part I wanted to hit, Dane, and that is the backlash from last week, because we don't avoid when we say stuff. We like to. I like to follow up. Like people
we'll
are.
own it.
And I know you
That's
went
fine.
on.
Yep.
You went on and kind of defended our honor on Dice Commando about us being too hard on Blitz.
So
I will tell you, I said this to the person at TDG to Bates, who was running it. I said, if my 3rd round is a 3rd IRA, just drop me because I'm done. I'm going home. I'm not coming here to play 3 IRAs in a row. That's nonsense. It's not fun. It's boring. I just don't want to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I went on Dice Commando because, one, I like that conversation with Andrew. He's just super smart, really down to earth guy that's fun to talk to.
Same.
And like pick each other's brains with. So like, if you haven't checked out his channel, Dice Commando, check them out. We can link that too down in the description below. Blake, start taking notes. Link it.
Yeah, I know, right? I got so many links to add.
But then we went a little in depth on like the merits of Blitz versus Classic Constructed, and I think we take it for granted that we all understand each other pretty well. I mean, we've been playing games and communicating with each other for...
We're probably at years too.
So when we're talking and feeding off of each other, like I know that Jason and Blake don't act like they don't feel that aggressively towards like Blitz as heated as they are in the moment. Like I don't usually take offense to that, but it's really hard to keep track of when that might be coming off as overly aggressive. So like Jesse had a comment on our last video where he was kind of appalled by the end of the video, and I don't apologize for what was said. I do apologize for maybe the way that we said it, because if it did come off like we were down on new players or acting holier than thou towards like new players liking Blitz, that wasn't the message. And I think that our regret with that would just be that like the way that we said it all made the actual message get lost in translation. The message was, and I explained this on my video with Andrew, is that we just want LSS to prioritize Classic Constructed because that is the game. So seeing more LSS like centric support for Classic Constructed, running events like this, calling, like seeing community events like this.
Calling wasn't even Classic Constructed; it was all sealed.
They had a side event. LSS hosted a side event, like
Right, it was a side event, but the actual calling wasn't CC.
Yeah, it was a sealed and draft.
There was CC run, right?
Right, but it wasn't
last
a calling.
weekend.
Yeah.
Right, but it was not a calling.
Okay. Yes.
It was. You don't get rated yellow. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which worries. It worries me a lot because when they come to the US, if it's a blitz or a sealed calling, that's going to be really, I don't know. That's not going to, I won't be happy with that. Like that would, that would change my output of actually traveling.
Let me just wrap up this point. So okay. The fact that the message being amidst us knowing each other that we would just like to see LSS support Classic Constructed because that's the game that we are really excited to play and that we think is balanced and that we think is going to be better for the community long term, for people to start practicing and getting ready for and to see locally. Like that's the game that got overlooked because there had been so much like antagonistic commenting in the Facebook group of like, you know, F Blitz or FCC or, you know, my community is all Blitz. Like Blitz is so much more fun. Like that's fine, but that doesn't change the fact that like CC is the game and we want to see more LSS support for Classic Constructed. So that was our message. If you're a new player, play whatever you want. Play CC if you're a new player. If you're a new player and love Blitz, if you're a player that just likes playing Blitz because it's simpler, you don't have to like put as much thought or time into like the crafting of the 80, play Blitz. We don't care. We want to see our point. We want to see LSS supporting Classic Constructed.
Yeah. I think some of it,
go ahead, Blake.
I was just going to say, so personally, what I think part of the Blitz fatigue is we've played a lot of Blitz events. And again, it can come off as antagonistic. It can come off as aggressive, but it's kind of a disdain for Ira, right? It's this frustration with Ira's existence. And again, I don't think that it's directed at people who play Ira. I think it's the abundance of Ira. It's taxing to have to sit down like one after the other round and play the same deck over and over and over. And I don't blame people for playing Ira, right? In Blitz. If you want to win, it's probably a great deck to play. If you have to play a long event, it's probably the right deck to play. Jacob Pearson said it, so don't kill the messenger, but he literally said it's the deck he thought that would be the least mentally taxing over a long day of play. You can take that however you like, but for me, the simple translation is the deck is easy to pilot. What it does is very strong, and it's generically easy to do. Pitch a blue, Kadachi, play whatever big attack you have, whether it's Command and Conquer and Light and Strike or the one cost attacks that you pack the deck with. You just be a fly that buzzes, do the thing you do consistently, and that's fine. Some turns you have to decide, maybe I drop the Command and Conquer on the second swing because I can get a 7 on it and mess. That's all fine. It's whatever. Do what you want to do. It's an easy deck to play. I get that. The fatigue of Blitz sometimes is the fact that like I'm tired of seeing Ira. I don't want to play Ira. If I go to an event and play 4 rounds, I don't want to play 3 Iras. I don't want to do it in anything, right? Like I like variety, okay? I like playing different things, and it's fun to play different matchups, and it's challenging to play different matchups. And I think that's part of the reason we like Classic Constructed as well. Classic Constructed inherently, because the game is deeper, longer, and has less turnaround. No deck is as consistent in Classic Constructed as Ira is in Blitz. And as a result, the field is so much wider. So you're just naturally going to have a wider spread of decks when you play in a Classic Constructed meta. And I think that that's what it comes down to, too, is like just kind of that mental fatigue of just constantly seeing Ira sit down across me. You're like, okay, sounds good. Because I get bored watching the deck. Like, I'm bored watching Kadachi attack for 5, Kadachi attack for 6. I'm just bored. Like, that's what it comes down to. I want to play more stuff. Like, I just really do.
I wish I was looking around, because I had at one point one of the kids is like dolls, or not dolls, but like little stuffed animals. I really wish I wanted to hold it up and be like, okay, guys, show me on the stuffed animal where Iris touched you. Is Jason frozen?
Jason's internet is barely better than Mark's. No power,
Right.
no running water internet.
His hamster got tired, the one that like runs on the circle to give him electricity.
Oh, it's getting so frustrating.
It's so crazy because you had amazing internet like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
That's when there was no leaves on the tree and my radio signal got through perfectly. As soon as those damn leaves came back, there goes the internet.
Get rid of them, man. You got to get rid of those leaves. Just go out and start like ripping them out of trees.
You just need to find the...
Jason just starts cutting trees down. His neighbors are like, what are you doing?
I considered that. Just the tops.
All right. So we just Blake got his rant in.
Yep.
So Jason, where are we headed to next?
I had one point I was just gonna make. Oh, I do think one common misnomer is Blitz is an entry level point for players. I wish as a whole the community would stop using that. I know we have Blitz starter decks.
You watched my video with Andrew. That was one of my big points. Yeah.
I 100. But I've thought that for a while is just because you can go into a Blitz game, and we've harped this before, and just lose turn 1 because somebody draws the nuts. And I feel just the whole Classic Constructed, even if you build a jank deck and throw 60 cards in and you have to include generics, you are learning the game. You're reading the cards. You have more time to process the information through the game. It's a more casual game. I think if you're tabletop gaming with friends, you'll enjoy it more. The experience is a lot better if you do 60 card deck versus a 40 card, 20 health Blitz. I just think it's a better experience. It's more casual. It's fun. And it's just, you get to learn more and see more of the game. And you have different situations that arise because it's a longer game. Longer game, be just turn wise and health wise, not necessarily longer in time. So that would be my only thing is you can have a preferred Blitz or Constructed, but one's not a beginner and one's not more advanced. They both can be suited as a beginner.
My point that I made on the video with Andrew is that Blitz doesn't have to be your point of entry. It probably will be for a lot of new people, just because the ease of picking up a Blitz deck and playing a Blitz game. And like, it is a simpler game, right? That's part of the reason that it's a little less balanced, is they just simplified a lot of it. And having those Blitz decks makes it a really good entry point. So that's going to be where a lot of people are. And we don't want to turn people off to playing Blitz, but that doesn't have to be where you start. If you play Blitz and you're like, oh, this game seems like pretty, RNG based, like someone just drew the nuts and killed me. Like, granted, it's not going to happen like starter deck versus starter deck for the most part. But
yeah,
if you don't like that, try Classic Constructed, because it's a more balanced game. So that was my point, was that just because it is a good entry point doesn't mean it has to be your entry point. If you're someone who likes that. Yep.
Absolutely, 100%. So moving on, just a little speculation part with the calling being announced for September in the U.S. I don't know if we've talked about this yet to any detail, but I know back, I want to say a month or two Rudy from Alpha Investments had sent something to their Patreon saying there was going to be a big tournament in Vegas, quarter 3 or 4, for this game. It was a letter sent out. It was shared on Facebook or somewhere else. So I'm guessing he gets a lot of the information earlier than anybody else. I don't know if he's an investor in the company or just the fact that he's helped grow the game from his channel. I'm guessing that the calling is going to be in Vegas. I think it's probably the cheapest place to fly into for people from other countries. For us here, it's the cheapest place to fly into. I mean, you could go to Texas, you go to Florida, or Vegas. Or California. In Vegas is just going to be the cheapest. Best way to get it, just easiest. So that would be my guess. I hope it's there, to be honest with you, just because my son wants to go back. My wife wants to go back. It's a fun place to visit.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah,
so that would be my speculation on that.
It wouldn't surprise me too, because it's a cheap place to fly into for everybody. It's very international friendly. So like if some of the people from the company wanted to come in, it would be a nice, easy way for them to get to an event. It's cheap to host anything there, and cheap to get hotel rooms and ballrooms and stuff like that. So they could get a good space for a really reasonable price and host a really good event.
Yeah.
And then my second guess would be Dallas, just because of their international airport and the location in the country for flights coming in. So that would be my 2 guesses.
I mean, guess it would make sense to do that. Like the tough thing about the East West Coast is just like the long travel for the people on the other side. At the end of the day, I've always said, I think that Minneapolis is a great place for.
Yeah, come to Minneapolis.
So.
It'd be so much easier if we could just drive.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying. There was a Worlds held here for a card game, and it went really well, and it was really well hosted, even by a bad company. Imagine how good Worlds would be hosted by an amazing company like LSS.
The River Center
And
with
it was,
like LSS running stuff.
Yes.
Would be amazing.
Yeah.
And they did miniatures at the same time. There was over 1,000 people going for 2 events simultaneously, and to be honest, it ran flawlessly. And they couldn't release a card on schedule to save their lives.
Yeah. And we're in the middle of the country with a wonderful airport. It's just beautiful, everything about it. And we're close to Canada. So if you really love Canada, then the Canadians can come down to see us. If you don't love Canada, host it in Texas. It's whatever.
And the weather is beautiful in the fall in Minnesota. I mean, it is absolutely perfect. Room temperature, 70 degrees. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So that's our sales pitch, LSS.
Yeah.
Come to Minneapolis.
We'll put you up. We'll do I was a liaison for like 3-star generals. Like I'll do the whole thing. I'll get you set up in hotel rooms. I'll line up town cars. I'll get you. We'll do the whole kit and caboodle for you. Make sure that you're taken care of. So
I got a nice basement. There's a ping pong table down there. I mean, you can play cards, play ping pong, whatever you guys want down there. So I can't wait till that actually happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, bigger events. And I saw some people are hosting just kind of private bigger events. And I don't know how you guys feel. I forget which one it is. Somebody in Canada is trying to run a big like 10K or something entry fee one. That doesn't appeal to me as much when it's not fully backed by a company. I don't know how you guys feel, but if I want to travel to a big event, I like a company backed event. I'm weird like that. I don't know how you guys feel on that.
I think there's 2 ways.
Did I lose you or no reaction?
Oh no, we're here. I think there's 2 sides of that coin. I think early on it's hard if you're a smaller group trying to host big events, and the only way you're going to get big, right, is if you do things. But for example, Pro Play Games is a big company here in the States, and they host a tour all over the country for Dragon Ball. They do Digimon, they do Yu-Gi-Oh, and that's a company that has like a really good namesake. It's the tournaments and the events are run really well. Whether they do them via webcam or in person, they're always hosted and run well. And they're a reputable company that has a reputation that they have to defend with their events, right? So they have to defend their reputation with their events. If they host a bad event, they actually have a negative side effect of that. Whereas somebody hosting a one-time big event can host a terrible event have terrible prize support in the end or do a very bad job of follow-up, and it doesn't really negatively impact them unless it was like the start of some big event or some big tour, right? So I think that's the issue with like having events hosted by private companies, is that if they don't have some sort of reputation, it immediately kind of gives me pause about flying to an event run by somebody who doesn't have a namesake that has a reputation to defend in the community. But I will say events hosted by companies, again, that's kind of why they're, they host good events typically, because it screws them if they host a bad event. It makes them look terrible, and it has really what it has is negative repercussions on their sales numbers. That's the thing they're mostly worried about. So I prefer things backed by them, but if they're not, it's not going to be by them. I would prefer it to be some big company who has, some big TO company that does a lot of things.
Yes, sir.
Same with you, Dane. So like just these one-offs, you're like, oh, I'll pass, wait to see how they perform before flying somewhere to do that.
Yeah, I mean, like if it was fun enough, or we all got a wild hair and wanted to like take the team there and rent a van and throw stickers on the windows or just tape up printer paper with our logo on it in the windows, like I would be down for that. Like if we could make it fun regardless. But if it is going to be like a large prize event and that's what the draw is the prize support, but it's from some game store in Omaha, like. I'm not traveling to that. I mean, no offense to them. Do what you can and, make that money by all means. And it's important to know that the reason that those events don't necessarily interest me is because LSS has put out a structure, to Jason's point that I'm sure he'll get back on here eventually and reiterate, is that like their structure, I think, is going to handle what I'm looking for competitive scene. I don't like that. That layout that they have, I think, is pretty much everything I could want. And if they did have like a pro play games, like put on like a tour for it or something too, like I'd be all about that too. But I don't think if it was like Destiny or something where there wasn't a ton of like regularly scheduled large competitive events and people were putting them on individually, then I'd be more apt to go to those because there was nothing else to really scratch that itch. So, but I think that LSS's plans look great. So
yeah, I think it also can hurt sometimes those events that for us personally, and that sentiment may be different for other people, but for us personally, I know one of the reasons that we often don't need to travel for stuff is because we have such a good local community that is growing really quickly, continuing to add on stores. And that's for a lot of games, like Minneapolis in general, like the Metro has like a really robust schedule in terms of weekly events for TCGs, and Fab is slowly building their way up to that, right? So what would, for some people, what would be a big event, maybe 50 or 60 people, for us could ultimately end up being Saturdays at the Source or something, where we just have these big 30, 40 person events every week. So there's no real incentive for us to fly somewhere to plan like a 50 or 60 person event when it's barely double locals. So I think that kind of hurts our perspective too. So like I get why people would want to go to them if maybe they don't have these big events, because like in Dragon Ball, they host case tournaments and people will fly to them and there's only 40 players. And I have no reason to do that because I went to locals tonight and there were, 20 something people there. So why would I go play at barely double that to do an event,
Yep. Jason,
yeah, Dane, you kind of hit it on the head there. With the new tiering system, that's the biggest negative draw, because I mean, I don't want to go. I feel like if you're chasing cards for money, just strictly $10,000 pot, I feel that's where you're going to get the most negative play experience from a community standpoint. That you have, not that there's cheaters in this game, but when you put large amounts of money, it takes an honest person and makes them not honest all the time. It just, I think it brings out the worst part of the community. So that drive isn't there. I like the tiering system.
Yeah, it can make it tough too, because if it's not LSS sanctioned, again, you do you have to have, specific judges when there's a judge program, or can you just have a guy who's a judge? And that can create weird experiences. And again, it's no knock on anybody who hosts these events, it's just our personal preference. I would be interested to see what other people think if they're willing to travel for a random store hosting a big event. I know personally I'm not, but again, we live in an area with a really good community, with a really good game community in terms of just being able to play weekly. If I wanted to right now, even with everything going on, like we can go 2 or 3 times a week and go play. And that's just barely opening up for COVID, and still stores wanting to get into the game.
I will say that is super insane about this state. I think our state does cards well.
Yeah.
The fact that we're already to a point now where you have Mankato, he's getting in the teens. Tuesday's source is going to be getting 12 or 16. Then TCG on Wednesdays, they're it's insane how many people are drawn. We're almost getting to a Destiny level. Full circle back when we first started, it's all we talked about Destiny. It's back now. Destiny's back on the table. That is what we lived in. Any day of the week, you could play Destiny any number of places around the city and have a blast. And we're already there for Fab, and it's just, our state just opened up.
Yep.
But I will say, you have to put work in your community to get to there. I know Chris Bates, he started it. When he took a little off, I pushed, you guys pushed to help build it even more, to do online, just to get the ball rolling again, to help grow the community. And now we're getting huge.
Yep.
Definitely a huge shout out to Chris. Chris does an awesome job. He is the one organizing a lot of the events. Last night, he was literally running the tournament software on his laptop for them, so that way they wouldn't have to run it, because they were running another tournament simultaneously. So he handled like the gem software for them to set it up. And it's cool. I love when community members step up, and Chris has always been great. When he did Destiny, he organized literally like a whole subset tournament thing and a point system and stuff. It was crazy. Yeah, the Kessel Run, baby.
Jason, you got to quit organizing your silverware or whatever you're doing over there.
Just trying to move my phone to get the best connection.
Nah, what else you got for us, man?
All right. So one other thing that I wanted to hit today was something that doesn't happen very often, and that was that the boxes, and it seems like it was just kind of New Zealand, Australia area, Oceania area that this happened to. Unlimited box cartons, we'll call them, because that's their official name. You open the carton and you open your booster box and it says first edition. You're like, wait a tick. But then you open that and you're back to unlimited packs. And that was kind of a huge issue if you're a collector, or you're buying those boxes. Doesn't seem to have happened to the US. People were amazed with the response of LSS, that they did a great job. They've come up with a solution. But how many people want to buy a first edition box that they're going to keep sealed, that you have a finger indent, press down tab to see if you can find a little red tag? That's kind of a big deal. That's not a simple solution. Awesome. We've come up with the greatest thing ever to figure it out. You haven't, because you just got to crack those open, because the box isn't perfect, and you know how collectors are. They're going to hate that.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the benefits is the fact that first edition product right now really isn't worth that much more than unlimited product. So if you're gonna crack it, you're cracking it either way, baby. Like the fact that you're like looking at prices. Yesterday I made some trades and I was looking afterwards, and I was like, oh, I got to check if it's first edition or, unlimited. Oh, wait, it doesn't matter. It literally doesn't. On non-foil stuff, doesn't even matter. It's basically the same price at this point. So at this point, if you got one of those, just open it. Like, who cares? You're going to get the same value out of it either way.
Or, ready? Pro tip. If you take like a sewing needle and you push it, you're going to pierce a little bit of the seal, but there's holes in it around where it's sealed anyways, so around the shrink wrap. And it won't go through the cardboard, but it will go through the seal, so you can push it down with that. I just made that up right now, so take that to the bank. You could also
You've just ruined the seal. His pro tip is to ruin the seal.
No, like if it's a sewing needle, you know how small that is. Like, and there's already there like where it's actually like melted and shrunk wrap. Like, there's holes in that shit all the time. Like,
you're gonna poke it through. It's gonna go through. You're gonna get too aggressive. It's gonna go through cards, stabbing cards.
Plot twist: it's not getting opened anyways. So
yeah, this huge show trying to figure out what's inside.
Yeah. I really don't care.
Know. I think it's. I don't either.
I will say,
pro tip. If you just rip open the plastic and lift up the lid, you'll see whether it's unlimited or first edition inside. And then you could just close it back up and tape it around. Problem solved. Easy.
Then just weigh your packs.
And it's still a sealed box.
Weigh your packs and sell them as single packs too. There you go.
Yep.
No, I will say that I liked the community response and how they're just like, all right, cool, LSS, thanks for the great response time. Because like I'm really grateful that I didn't have to deal with 2 weeks of just like incessant bitching about it online. Because it's not, I mean, it's not like LSS got the boxes and we're like, let's shake it up a little bit. It's like, no, like this is so completely, it was not their fault.
Yeah.
Like it just was a manufacturing.
If they had actually said, let's shake it up, that would have been amazing. And I would have loved that.
I will say, to be fair, somebody did point out that they caught it before it left the distributors in Europe. Europe had those boxes in distribution, but they got caught before. They made a quick quality check on some to see if it was true in those boxes, and they stopped that whole thing. So I don't know what they're going to do with that stuff, if they're just going to use them for events or whatever, ship them. But I don't know. But I will say somebody made note of that. I think the thing that I was more bothered by was the need, and it makes me laugh. I memed it. I'll own the meme. That's fine. You can hit me if you want. You can yell at me in the comments. I'll take whatever you got coming at me. I will say, can we
touch me?
If you want to reach across the table and touch me in an event for this, you can physically put your hands on me. Just beware. I'm a big guy. I'm not little. So I touch back. This all needs to stay in. So
I'm not taking it out.
Take none of this out. It all
this
stays.
Is consensual
you touch me,
touching.
I touch. This is consensual
touching. Yes,
it's consensual touching. So I will say, I think the one thing I would like is if we could just, as a community, decide that every time something happens, it doesn't require 62 YouTube videos to talk about it. Because I think that's the thing that I was more bothered by, was that the community Facebook page was 50% people saying like, oh, it's cool, I'm happy LSS responded. And the other 50% was everyone sharing a YouTube link to their video talking about LSS thing. Is it a mid thing? Is it not a thing? It's just like, oh, for the love of Christ. Seriously.
I'm actually, I love you guys. And I feel like I need to remind you of that fairly often. I'm playing devil's advocate again. I'm all for the free market and letting the shaft rise to the top. That's fine.
Whoa.
62,
we're talking about consensual touching and now a shaft rising to the top? What is this podcast turned into?
Chaff.
Shaft. He said shaft.
He said shaft.
You heard it here.
I'm not the only one talking about consensual touching.
So I'm all for the rising shafts, right? Like, no, I think that post all the videos. It's funny. We're gonna make fun of it because it's a meme worthy thing that's happening. But make them like we don't want that to result in like people being reticent to make videos, because if you make videos and you've got a great personality and people want to watch them, that's great. Keep doing it.
The only other thing that I really have is when you go to your next Blitz event, put down Ira and try a goddamn new deck. Please, just try a different deck, for the love of God. Do what Blake did for all of skirmish season. Grab a different deck. My first opponent, hold on a second. I'm going to find his name real quick.
All right, when you do that.
For the charity event.
When you do that, I just want to say I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Play Ira. I don't care. Like, and a lot of people I think are fine with it. Just, yes, change it up because there's not as much on the line right now. Like, the skirmishes are sealed and draft and blitz. Like, so if you love Ira, that's what you really enjoy playing. Play it. We're not taking shots at individuals. We're just saying as a whole, that's why we feel the way that we feel about it.
But I will say,
of Ira,
if you continue to play Ira, you won't develop as a player.
I think you should play multiple decks. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just to you want to learn other lines. It'll make you better. And someday Ira's not going to be there for you. You're gonna pick up the phone and make the call, and she's not going to answer because either she's going to hit legendary status or whatever other reason. She's just not going to be there. So it's good to pick up and call somebody else once in a while.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Is actually on that point real quick, because I think that's a good segue into something maybe you didn't have planned. What are you guys' thoughts on this community advocacy for the idea of adding living legend status to Blitz? Because currently Blitz events, they said, do not have a living legend status. It only applies to constructed heroes.
Well, if they're doing a calling and it's a Blitz, I think if it's a huge event, it should absolutely be included for living legend status.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I'll be honest, I would be, if they came out and were like, hey, like, we only had eight heroes, so we let Ira exist in Blitz because, you know, a lot of people had the starter decks, but now that we've got like a wider breadth, like Ira's just a starter deck, like she's out, I would be like, okay. And I would survive and I would move on and I'd be fine.
I think what they should do, if anything, is add living legend, let it apply to any organized play event. So if it's an organized play event, and it's like they've said that about the event, right? They're doing callings and things like that. If it's a calling level event, if it falls into that category, I absolutely unequivocally think that living legend status should do it. But it applies differently. So Bravo can gain living legend status in Blitz, but not have it in constructed, and vice versa.
Yep. I like that. That's fine with me. And then just
make it a separate living legend. Yep. And Ira falls into it, and all these young heroes now, because you have Ira and KO and Shiana, they're all considered heroes primarily. They're young heroes. So their young hero form in Blitz can become a living legend, but they can become an adult and they're not a legend anymore, right? It's like the kid who was like a legendary, you know, quarterback in high school who grew up and now he, you know, works a dead end job. Like he grew up and he sucks, man. He was a stud in high school, but he grew out of it. And it just, you know, he never fully grew into that head of his.
So I looked up his name. So my first opponent in the charity event was Alberto Miracle. I've played him before in other events. Super cool guy, awesome to play. He's out in Washington. He rolls the dice for what deck he's going to be playing that week. So he has all his heroes lined up. He's like, yep, I rolled. This is who I got. I got Reinhard this week. That's who I'm playing.
Like it.
Obviously, you're going to want to find the deck that you're going to want to perfect and become very, very good at. My Blitz deck is Kano. My CC deck is Chain that I want to get very, very good at. But I also want to play all the other heroes because I need to understand them. The first couple times, especially with Blake playing Bolton, I didn't know remotely close how to beat him. So I've started playing him a little bit here and there because I need to learn his card pool and what he can do. And if I don't play him, it's very hard to learn that. So it's always a struggle your first games. But if you have that good buddy that you jam games with, pick up a new hero, jam some new games, learn some new lines, and it'll help you beat that hero in the future.
All right.
Yeah.
And that's all I have to say about that.
That's all I gotta say about that.
And that's all I have to say for this episode of this podcast. That is it. I'm out.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I'm going over and I'm recording another video with Andrew because last week was so much fun. So
blood buddies.
I was gonna say something else. Blake, any final thoughts?
No final thoughts. I don't think. I wouldn't be. I will say I won't be mad. Unlike some other people, I actually probably wouldn't be too upset if there was like a sealed calling. I don't want to play a Blitz calling, but I would play a sealed calling personally.
I like the doubleheader, sealed and constructed. One on Friday, one on Saturday.
Dude, I'll be honest. I'm really excited for this calling in September. I really want, I'm hyped for like the team sealed, like the side events and stuff. Gonna be so much fun. Like I mean, it's a 3-person team sealed. Here we go.
We're
Jason.
making outfits. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what
Outfits.
I'm gonna drag the team down, so I don't know what you guys are gonna do about that part of it.
We'll
I
just-
am a master of sealed, Jason. We'll balance
I
each
know.
other out, and then it's all up to Dane.
yeah, and I run
Well,
run pretty
I'll go
hot.
500.
I run pretty hot and sealed as well, so we'll be okay.
I'll go 500. So you guys just have to drag my 500. I just need just a couple more wins. Just find a couple more wins.
Yep.
Mhm.
Just find one more. Get one over 500. We're good to go.
I think. Yeah, I mean Blake's definitely got the better record because he goes undefeated fairly often, but I think I'm only behind you like by, if I had to guess, probably 3 to 5 games.
Yeah.
Of all the
No,
sealed that we've played. Like I think
Yeah,
we'll be okay,
definitely.
Jason. It's gonna be just fine. We'll practice.
be
We'll
okay.
be fine.
And if anybody has suggestions for like an attire, like a team attire, I'm pro like Dragon Ball jumpsuits because you can buy those sweatsuits online, and sweatsuits are forgiving for us
Dude,
dad bods.
Yep. I will 100%. If we hit, dude, that could be like 1,000 subscriber goal or something. If we hit 1,000 subscribers
Right.
before, like which we are kind of on track to, we'll probably be fine.
Yeah.
I'm also working
can
on.
give it up.
Oh, I'm gonna announce that. So I'm working
There you
on
go.
a
Yeah.
little side project that I've got a buddy who works for Blizzard and does like digital art and stuff, and we've been connecting and going back and forth on a Outcast Haven mat design that I'm gonna own the rights to, and if it's something that the community or our subscribers are into, totally willing to open up if there's interest, like orders for those mats. So when I get a final design, because I've got like some concept arts that we've gone back and forth on, it looks amazing, dude. I'm really excited about it. I know Jason, you said it wasn't really your style, so not to like nag my own advertisement here, but I think it looks dope. So if you are interested in something like that, or if you're like, I'm matted out, dude, I get all my mats from whatever, that's fine. I'm just gonna own it then. I'm paying for it. So comment down below. But thank you for joining us for another week. I know this week we just did a little bit of explaining, talked a little bit about our experiences, but mainly wanted to hopefully close the loop on how heated we got in regards to Blitz. Again, play what you want to play. We're speaking to what we want to see officially supported. And also we didn't hit on like I think one of the big things was the playing to time. That was another thing that was like we got called out on about like new players, like we were speaking specifically to the people that were going to
I've apologized enough on this episode. They can go themselves.
I know this is Dane time, because Dane doesn't apologize because our message is true. What we said is true. Just wanted to clarify that we were really heated about it because going to time is super annoying, and we think that feeds from the fact that not a lot of people are practicing Classic Constructor right now because they're so like hot on Blitz because of the Blitz skirmish season, which feeds off the fact that that's what LSS was supporting. But all the way back at the tail end of where we are now, just at the very least, be courteous and practice on your CC deck so that you're not running to time. If you've never played CC because you've been all about Blitz and it's like, oh, well, the calling CC, like better just play more. It's like there's people that are going to be going that are practiced that want to do well. So at the very least, you owe it to them to be practiced on your deck and not take 4-minute turns. That's all. That's all we're saying.
To be fair, I went to locals too. I know I got heated and considered physical violence as an option for people playing slow. I would like to point out that tonight I almost went to time and I was very courteous and was actually explaining cards to the person who almost took me to time at a Dragon Ball Super event. But I was very kind and courteous about it, and I didn't actually do anything. I wasn't going to carry through on any sort of threats.
But that's
I made on
locals.
people's.
And if it was like a highly competitive cash tournament, I think that you would have got violent.
I would have called a judge. That's what I
No.
would have done.
No.
Because getting
He would've-
violent gets me kicked out of the tournament. That's the thing, right? Is like my logical brain comes through and I go, whoa, I want to slap this guy, but it gets me kicked from the tournament. So no matter how much I want to physically touch him and like harm
We're
him,
gonna go
I
ahead and
have
cut this out. So we're gonna just remove all the physical violence talk.
Oh,
I'm not
God,
going to
it's
do
so
it. I'm
good.
saying I'm not going to
Apologies.
do it.
Apologies for that heated portion of the discussion because we didn't acknowledge it earlier. I'd like to acknowledge it.
So funny.
All right. Well, I know that we had the random go live of our Cancer Society Drive of New Zealand, or the Cancer Society of New Zealand charity drive. God, I get that name mixed up. But we had that go live today sort of randomly. It was a really good match. It was fun to watch. They talked afterwards for like 10 minutes just about, what they had going on during the game. If you want to get the notifications for those types of videos, because that was really impromptu. It just happened to be when Jason and Aaron their schedules linked up. We just went live because we wanted to show it. So if you want to catch those videos, be sure to hit that bell button. Be sure to subscribe and get the notifications for our podcast that comes out Friday. I know we've been talking about it for a week or so now, but I'm putting an ultimatum out there. Like Jason and Blake, you guys got to record that Bolton, and I'm ready for the Levia whenever. But we got to get the Bolton out. So let's do
And one
that.
more thing, I want to say, listen to the conversation at the end of our tournament to hear Aaron Curtis talk. Very, very smart, very good at this game. I think it's worth the extra 10 minutes after the match just to listen to a lot of his thoughts.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, thanks for joining us for another week, and we will talk to you all next time. Peace.